Hello? You guys either nod or shake your heads. Yes, yes, no, no. Um, my family, my family is a very, very private family. We are not conspicuous, and we do not stand in the middle of public plazas and make ourselves seen. It's not our thing. But when a tragedy happens, like happened in our family, even in a beautiful town and community like this, the vultures begin to circle, and the vultures have circled on our family. And I'm standing here today on my 60th birthday to tell you the story of my sons, mostly about one son. I love you, Melissa. Hi, son. Mostly about one son, but it's the story of my whole family now. So if any of the vultures are here, I welcome you because I want you to hear my story, and then I want you to change your story. And my son Aaron knows that no way in hell could I do what I'm doing right now. This is Aaron's story. Aaron, my firstborn son, was planning a wonderful beach bonfire to surprise his mother for her 60th birthday. I am Aaron's mother, and this is that birthday, but Aaron could not be with us here today. Aaron was born in the summer of 1981. He was the first child of his 20-year-old mother and his father. He was the first grandchild to all of his grandparents. He was the first of his set of 20 cousins, and some of Aaron's cousins are right here with you today. He has been a cherished part of a very loving family for almost 40 years. When Aaron was almost 2, he was joined by his beautiful sister Amberly, and 3 years later by his beloved brother Jacob, whose picture you may have seen this week on the cover of many local newspapers. When Aaron was almost 6, he was blessed by his youngest precious brother Luke, who is also here with us today. Aaron was present at the birth of every one of his brothers and sisters, and he was a protective, loving force and a role model as they all grew up together. When Aaron was 11 years old, his mom became a single mother, and the next years of life for the family were very difficult and challenging. Where money and resources were scarce, love, education, nurturing, and laughter were abundant. Those difficult years of his life leading into his adulthood helped forge and create the amazing man that Aaron Steichen was to become. From the time he could hold a crayon, Aaron was an artist, always talented well beyond his years, but never talented enough to satisfy himself or to capture the beauty he could see in his amazing mind. His art was a constant growing craft, and it never, ever left him. When people would ask him, "What are you going to be when you grow up?" Aaron would say, "An artist," and grown-ups would often correct him and say, "Art is a hobby, son. What job are you going to have?" And he would walk away because he had just told them he would be an artist. At 12 years old, Aaron began delivering the local newspaper 7 days a week. It was a pitiful wage for a lot of hard work. And at 14, wanting to get the contact lenses that his mother couldn't afford, he printed out 100 flyers announcing Aaron's lawn services. And for the next 2 years, he was the entrepreneur of his 2-year career in yard care. 3 days of the week, he would walk from his home early to his appointments, pushing an old lawnmower in front of him with a cheap edger tool across his shoulders, and he would return late in the afternoons, sweaty and exhausted, but with around $100 in his pocket. This work experience was part of his homeschool education, from which he also developed into an amazing history buff and social justice advocate, with stellar writing skills and a talent for critical thinking and argumentation. Seeing the entire world as his classroom, he never stopped studying in many areas, leaning toward philosophy, world culture, and socioeconomic politics. For 2 or 3 years of his youth, he worked at menial jobs, and at 19, he started his apprenticeship into the tattoo industry, where he would become the professional artist he had always said he would be. There are many pieces of Aaron's work in the crowd today, although Aaron could not be here with us. Through a very challenging single-parent childhood, through difficult times and happy, memorable times, Aaron's 2 younger brothers always followed his lead. When they were small, they looked up to their big brother, from Lego building to riding bikes all the way to world travel. Aaron was the eldest brother who finally became one of 4 adult siblings who understood each other and were bound by a strong love that had been forged through the challenges they had faced together. Friends, family, and sometimes total strangers would often mention the evident and palpable love and unity of this set of siblings and their mother. Whether right or wrong, Aaron always loved his mom dearly and said that she was the strongest person he knew. Whether right or wrong, Aaron said last week one day that everything he owed to his beloved mother. Aaron's mom always felt that she had been blessed with the most amazing and wonderful children that she did not deserve. Skipping many rich, eventful years and details which create the complex tapestry of a life and a family, Aaron eventually became a world traveler, and he introduced the important necessity of travel to his family. He took his mother to Italy, Austria, and Germany. He lived abroad, working as an artist in Barcelona, London, Berlin, Bangkok, and both the east and west coasts of the U.S. He brought his sister, his brother Jake, and also their mother to stay with him in Berlin at different times. He traveled throughout Southeast Asia with his brother Jacob, and through Spain, Portugal, and Hungary with his brother Luke. Aaron had a lifelong dream of buying a piece of land for his family, but most especially for his mother to have security and a place to call home. He had recently accumulated the means for making a full payment on this property, and he was joyfully looking forward to being a landowner within this year. Like Aaron, his brother Jake is an artist too, and Jake also caught the wanderlust for world travel from Aaron. Jake traveled on his own in several countries, and during some of Jake's travels, it seems that he had encountered violent or traumatic incidents triggering or exacerbating schizophrenia, which continued to torment Jake off and on for years. The entire family was concerned and wanted to help Jake with love, security, and family unity. Mental health care was practically impossible to find. Skipping more important details and life events, Jake eventually had a severe mental health crisis leading to his arrest, charges, brief imprisonment, excessive legal fees, and medication. Upon Jake's release and for his recovery, since his brother Luke already lived here, everyone in the family moved back to Arcata to be together as a strong support structure for Jacob. This claims to be, by professionals, the most hopeful stabilizing factor for victims of mental illness, a strong family unit, and that is what Jacob had. Jake's family, including his older brother Aaron, who cannot be with us here today, surrounded him with love and security. Skipping again many important life events, during recent travel in Japan and Hawaii, Jake experienced extreme trauma from multiple factors, sending him into another round of schizophrenia. He returned home in full psychotic crisis, and the family once again circled the wagons to support Jake. At this time, the difficult journey of finding mental health care in our current culture began to become clear to Jake and Aaron's family. Aaron loved his brother Jake so much that he moved back to Humboldt with his beautiful lady, who is with us here today, to build their life together near his family, where Aaron could be close to help by with Jake's recovery. Aaron and Anisha found their dream home, exactly the kind of home they both had always envisioned, and they began to make their plans for growing old together. As Jake wavered and then began a steep descent into serious crisis, the family reached out desperately to local support and agencies, including Humboldt County Mental Health Services and Arcata Police Department. I want to be clear right now that every human being that we encountered was very kind and very humane, and they are part of a system Everyone we spoke to agreed that Jacob was gravely disabled and desperately needed swift mental health intervention. These phone calls and conversations began in July. Jacob eventually locked himself into his room, totally fearing that others in the family or invaders from outside of the family were a real and present danger to him. He was no longer the grounded Jacob of our common reality, but was a frightened, paranoid victim of mental illness in a culture where help is not considered a basic human right. Law enforcement were called in the first time on August 18th, 2020, because in our state of California, in our liberal county of Humboldt, in our intellectually driven town of Arcata, California, the only agency available to help a traumatized person with a diagnosed mental illness are uniformed police officers with flashing lights carrying guns. At this time, Jacob had been in his room with the door barricaded for over 4 days, not coming out for anything. Not coming out for anything for 4 days. The Arcata Police Department officers who came out were in uniform and accompanied by 6 police cars, all with lights flashing. Jake was terrified and further traumatized. Both officers claimed to smell feces and urine from inside the room. Both officers agreed that Jake was gravely disabled, but both officers drove away after talking with Jake for over an hour, trying to persuade a paranoid, endangered, mentally ill man to open the door and come out on his own. They drove away. They walked to their cars and they drove away. Jacob destroyed all sense of any order at all inside his caged living space at that time by pushing furniture and blankets into a larger barricade for his door. He stayed inside that room for the next 4 weeks without opening the door. Please do not judge my family too harshly. And at this time, I would like to say, if you're at the news, do not approach my children, not my son, not my daughter. If they want to talk to you, they'll come to you. Don't judge my family, especially on assumptions you may have that would prove untrue anyway. You do not know unless you have been there and tried to get the system to work for you. We were forbidden to break down the door or to force Jake by any means to leave his room by our will and against his will. We were told to do this would be committing felony offenses for which we could be charged. We were told to trust the system. It takes time. We were told the case is building. We were told it's best to let it escalate. I'm going to say that again. We were told it is best to let it escalate. Jacob was in full schizophrenic crisis and unable to meet his own basic needs, including any form of hygiene. When the Arcata Police Department, the only agency available to us, was asked if that was enough to force Jake from his room, they said no. Jake lit fires in his room, burned walls, melted window blinds, threw burning material in glass jars out onto the yard and sidewalk, where the glass shattered, putting burning material into dried grass and next to our wood-framed house. And we asked the Arcata Police Department, the only agency available to us, if that was enough to force Jake to come from his room, and they said no. Jacob screamed threats like, "Get far from me if you value your life. You've outlived your reason to exist," to his mother, who lived in the same house. And we asked the Arcata Police Department, the only agency available to us, if that was enough to get him out of his room, and they said no. Jacob hammered with a heavy rock weight directly onto an electrical outlet because he believed it was somehow plotting against him. He hammered on an electrical outlet until all the lights in the house flickered, and finally he knocked out a breaker. And we asked the Arcata Police Department, the only agency available to us, if that was enough to get him out of his room, and they said no. Jacob continued lighting fires in his room, burning plastic, and sometimes coughing violently for several hours from the toxic fumes of the plastic he was inhaling in that small enclosed room. And when the Arcata Police Department, the only agency available to us, was asked if that was enough to force my son from his room, they told us no. Oops. We were informed that every agency in the county had become aware of Jake's situation, but would any agency go into that room and bring him out for the mental health care that he so obviously and blatantly needed? No. After many phone calls, some wellness checks where the Arcata Police Department came out to talk to and further traumatize Jake, but would drive away because Jake did not want to willingly come out. Also, a desperate request for a wellness check that was refused simply because the officer in charge didn't see the point. We were finally told that a 3-person team with a strong record of success in these cases would be sent out. It was Thursday. They recognized it was an emergency. They recognized on Thursday that Jake was in crisis, and they told us on Thursday that since it was an emergency, they would send a specialized team out next Wednesday. Now please follow closely here, if you will. On Thursday, September 17th, 9 days before their mom's 60th birthday, Aaron, a central core part of this family intervention team, who had been meeting daily to find the help Jacob needs, learned, along with Amberly, Luke, their mom, and Uncle David, that a special team would be sent out who had good chance of success in getting Jake out and to the mental health care he needs. What a sigh of relief we breathed, and how the hell are we going to wait till next Wednesday, we wondered. On Friday, September 18th, 8 days before their mom's 60th birthday, Aaron, Amberly, Luke, their mom, and Uncle Dave called for a wellness check on Jake due to dangerous behavior, including flaming material being thrown from his window and landing next to the dry wooden frame of the house. The officer on the 911 call didn't see the point in coming out. He might try to get next Wednesday's hopeful team meeting moved up to Monday. On Saturday, September 19th, 1 week before her 60th birthday, Aaron, Amberly, Jake, and Luke's mom texted everyone and said it was a remarkably peaceful night and morning, so she wanted all of them to take a self-care day and do something fun. She would be on standby today. On Sunday, September 20th, 6 days before their mom's 60th birthday, Aaron, Amberly, and Luke came to the house to spend family time, eating food, playing board games, and being there for each other and for their beloved brother, Jake. They were all worried for Jake's safety. Jacob, their precious brother, after a short nap, I said I would take a short drive to return a phone call to a friend. I said, I'll be back in half an hour. Aaron, his beautiful lady, Anisha, and Amberly were playing cribbage at the kitchen table when I left my house for the last time in my life. Last Sunday at 7:11, I received a text from Amberly. Jake wants us to leave, she said. They were going to finish one more play on the cribbage game and be gone within 5 minutes. Last Sunday, 6 days before my 60th birthday, my son Jacob dashed from his room into the kitchen where he stabbed his brother Aaron in the heart with a knife. Last Sunday, 6 days before my birthday, my son Aaron's girlfriend saw her future killed in front of her eyes. She saw the look of curious surprise in his eyes as his heart was punctured. Last Sunday, 6 days before my 60th birthday, my son Aaron stood up from his mom's kitchen table Nowhere's safe if you're not safe at your mom's kitchen table. Last Sunday, 6 days before my birthday, my son Aaron stood up from his mom's kitchen table and looked at his sister, and she said to him, "Aaron, are you hit?" And he looked at her and he said, "Yeah, I think I'm hit," just before he fell. My precious baby girl rushed forward to catch her brother as he was falling, and she held him in her arms last Sunday night as my firstborn son died on his mother's kitchen floor. Aaron was planning a wonderful beach banquet and a bonfire to surprise his mother for her 60th birthday. I am Aaron's mother, and that birthday is today, and Aaron is not here. Much later, after my son was declared dead at Mad River Hospital, and his precious girlfriend, who had lived with him only 5 days together in their brand new home, she was madly trying to find her way into that hospital so that she could say goodbye to her sweet love just once. She wasn't allowed. That morning, Aaron had planted strawberries for her and talked about marriage and their future. She was wondering in shock, trying to figure out how to get in to see her love just one more time, and I had to return to my home, to my children, the block was now lit up from end to end with police making an absolute circus on our front lawn while we watched the silhouette of our beloved Jake pacing back and forth in his room, now his brother's murderer, but still refusing to come out. I saw my youngest son Luke holding his sister in his arms, trying to comfort her after she had watched their brother die, and I asked the nearest officer, "So hey, I'm curious, say Jake doesn't want to come out. You guys just going to drive away again?" And he said, "No, ma'am." And I said to him, "If you bastards had shown this kind of concern and this kind of determination when you were out here early this week, my firstborn son would be alive, and my son Jake would be getting the help he needed instead of being a felon who just murdered his brother." After I wrote this, I found out from the psychologist that Jake doesn't know what he did yet. Jake's locked up. They moved him from the cage that he had put himself into willingly to a cage he can't get out of, and he doesn't know yet what he's done. So coming back to sanity for my son Jake means getting to learn that he murdered the brother that he has loved all his life. And 1 month ago, from his room, Jake tossed out a little present out of his window. It was wrapped in weird paper and tape. And he said, "That's a present for for Aaron, make sure he gets it." And it was a protective Buddha necklace made out of black tourmaline stones and a beautiful Buddha pendant. And when Aaron said to Jake through the window, because Jake wouldn't come out, "Jake, thank you for the gift," Jake said, "It's for your protection." That was a month ago. This story that I've told you is a story of my son, Aaron, whose beautiful life ended last Sunday night. This story is the story of my son, Jake, who has an amazing, generous heart and spirit and deserved help, but was left in torment until he became his brother's killer. This is the story of my son, Luke, who tragically lost both of his brothers in a single night. This is the story of my daughter, Amberly, who will never forget watching her brother die in her arms as his blood pumped out into her hands. This is the story of my son's love, Anisha. She will not get to live the dream that was taken from her. I am Aaron's mother. I am Jake's mother. I am Luke's mother. I am Amberly's mother, and I am a mother to Anisha. Aaron was planning today. I'm Aaron's mother, and today is my birthday. I'm not at the birthday feast that my son Aaron was planning for me with his brother and sister. This is my 60th birthday, and what I want for my birthday is change to our healthcare system. What I want for my birthday is change to our mental health care system. What I want for my birthday is no mother ever anywhere to ever feel the way that I am going to feel every day for the rest of my life. Would everybody who drove from far, far away to be here just because you love Aaron, would you just make some crazy ass arcade noise right now? If you are here today because you love my son Aaron, then you are my tribe. And if you are here today because you love my son Aaron, then we have a mission, and Aaron's legacy cannot die, even though I can never, ever, ever have one of his amazing love your mama hugs. So thank you for all being here. And I believe that if they can, there might be a couple of people who want to say something, and if not, we're here for Aaron and Jake.